Welcome to the Connect Your Health to Life coaching podcast. I'm your host, Seth Lusk. I'm a master certified life coach and published author with a decade-long background working in the health, wellness, and fitness industry as a personal trainer, nutrition specialist, and life coach. If you're anything like me or the clients that I work with, then you might be struggling with some confidence issues or struggling with feeling like you're not living your most fulfilling or authentic life. You may be trying to figure out why you have these amazing desires for what your most fulfilling life would look like, but you can't seem to create consistent action in your life to reflect those desires. So join me as we dive in deep on what it means to truly live a fulfilled and authentic life from the inside out. We're going to look from the perspective of an empowered mindset and uncover some of the reasons why you might be what's holding yourself back from living that most fulfilling life. But don't worry, this isn't about blame, guilt, or shame. This is about empowering you to see. I'm going to break through some of the biggest illusions and myths that we've all been taught to believe along the way. And I'm so excited to have you with me on this journey. So my only question for you is, are you ready to start living your most fulfilling life once and for all? Then let's get started, shall we? Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. For those of you listening in for the first time, welcome. You picked another interesting episode to join in on. I say this every week, but seriously, I think any week that you join in to listen to this podcast, it's going to be an interesting episode. I mean it every week when I say it. So you picked an interesting episode this week. Those of you listening in now for the 70th time, yes, we're on episode number 70. This is going to be interesting for you too. So I want to preface this episode by saying I've talked about this before, about saying no. And if you haven't already listened to my previous episode on saying no, I would recommend going back and listening to it because I talk a lot about why it is important for us to start saying no when things are a genuine no for us. And for a lot of people, this is difficult to understand or to grasp or to put into practice. A lot of people identify with their people-pleasing nature and become a victim to their people-pleasing nature. And so they never come to the point where they say no when it is a genuine no for them. So for some people, this is a hard sell, just to get people to say no when their answer is truly and genuinely a no. And for other people, they have come to a point where they're starting to accept this idea that saying no, having boundaries, is an important thing for us. But I'm noticing a new trend, and that's what I want to talk about this week. This week, I want to talk about a nuance to saying no. This episode's going to be a bit shorter than some of my other episodes because we're not jumping into an entirely new topic. We're going into a topic that I've already talked about before, but I want to talk about a struggle within a struggle that I'm seeing here. For those of you out there who are starting to recognize the importance of saying no, and you're starting to want to implement this into your life, there is a second battle that I'm noticing sort of coming up here, a struggle that I'm seeing coming up. And the truth is, for most people, they don't even recognize that it's a struggle. They think that they're doing, this new thing that's good for them and that they're standing up for themselves or that they're speaking their truth and finally saying no. And I want to applaud you for putting this into practice, but I want to talk today about something that I am calling a reactive no, or reactive knowing. And I'm not talking about knowing, Knowing. I'm talking about knowing as in Noing, like the act of saying no. It's not actually a verb. I just made that up. So reactive knowing. So saying no as a reaction. And that's what I want to talk about today. I've already talked about why it's important for us to say no. We live in this culture that teaches us that no is mean and that yes is kind and considerate. But when we give people a yes when it's not genuine, then we're not being considerate. We're actually creating internal, subconscious, and invisible debts within our relationships with that other person. I talk about this in depth in my other episode on saying no. I can't remember the title off of the top of my head right now. I'll put it in the show notes below, but go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already, because I dive in a lot deeper on why it is so important for us to say no and how saying yes when it's actually a genuine no is not nice. It's not considerate. It's not loving. It's the exact opposite. And we create these invisible debts with the relationships with people around us. And the worst part about it is that the other person doesn't even know that this debt exists or how much they owe you. And we start creating this invisible debt. In case you all are wondering, just a little side note, I'm actually writing a book on this topic of these invisible debts that we create in our relationships. I'm hoping to have that published and out to you all by the end of this year, just like the book that I released in January. So if you haven't already purchased a copy of my book that's already published, that will also be linked in the show notes below. My friends, I put out a book. I published it in January. It's available on Amazon. Links in the show notes. If you haven't already gotten your copy, I've gotten some amazing feedback from the book. People are really enjoying reading it. I'm hearing things like it's such an easy read, but it's so insightful and brings so much awareness. And that's how I wrote the book. I wrote the book to be easy to understand, to bring something that is a huge concept into easy to understand language. So back to what I'm talking about today. So yes, I'm also writing a book on these invisible debts that we create in our relationships with the people around us. One of the ways we do this is by saying yes when we mean no. And when we do this, it leads to resentment, mistrust, and dysfunction in our relationships. It also creates a lot of emotional reactivity and blaming and avoidance in the relationship. And this is the exact opposite of being kind and considerate. So what I want you all to begin considering is that, first of all, saying no is not mean, and that saying yes is not always kind and considerate. All right, once we move past there, because I've spoken about this before in the previous podcast episode, like I said, I'll link that in the show notes below. So once we get past there and we have this understanding of fully why giving inauthentic yeses when the answer is actually no is harming us, once we're there, I want you all to become aware of this sort of recent trend that I'm noticing, as there tends to be, if you look on social media, so I've noticed on Instagram and on Facebook, even on TikTok, which I'm sad to say I was on it for a little while doing some research, thinking about doing some creating a profile for my coaching there. I don't think I'm going to be doing that. But even on there, there's this theme coming out now. And it goes along with this self-care theme that I see, where self-care is all about, loving yourself through comfort and indulgence and things like this. And I've talked about this before. That is not self-care. But alongside that, there is this new wave of acceptance to saying no and setting boundaries. And along with this cultural acceptance that's starting to come up of saying no, I'm noticing a trend of a way people are using it that is not helpful. It actually defeats the purpose of giving authentic no's instead of giving inauthentic yeses. So yeah, this idea of saying no, it's getting some traction in the world. And I love that. I really, really do. And I don't want you all to turn away from this idea that saying no is important. But here's what I'm afraid of. Because I'm seeing how it's being misused, I'm calling it reactive knowing. Again, that's N-O-ing. It's a word I made up. It's not actually a word. I'm not talking about knowing like K-N-O-W-I-N-G, like being aware of something. I'm talking about saying no, the act of saying no, and I'm calling it knowing. I'm calling this new trend reactive knowing. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I'm afraid if we keep using it this way, using no this way, and using it in this method of standing up for ourselves, or, finally just saying no, and we're doing it as this reaction to overwhelm, what I'm afraid is happening is that we're going to start seeing the destructive patterns that come out of doing this, and people are going to start believing, oh no, see, I knew I shouldn't have started saying no, because now look at how much destruction it's created in the relationships around me, and I should have just stuck with saying yes when it wasn't an authentic yes, and at least then people thought I was being kind, and blah, 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 and I don't want us to get there. So this is like my way of bringing some awareness about this trend that I'm seeing before it starts to create the chaos and destruction that I'm seeing that it's going to create in our lives. Because the way that I'm seeing people adopting and accepting this saying no comes from this energy of standing up for ourselves. Or it comes from the space where we've allowed ourselves to get in this state of burnout and overwhelm. And we feel like we truly have nothing left to give. And the truth is, it's because we're not giving anyways. We're setting these, invisible debts in the relationships around us, and no one's paying us back for them. And we're getting to this space of resentment and overwhelm and burnout. And then that's when we decide, no. We'll stand up and we'll say, no, enough is enough. My answer is no. And this, my friends, is what I'm calling a reactive no. So when I talk about the importance of saying no, What I want you all to get into the trend of and understanding is what I would call a proactive no. And the goal of this proactive no is to never get to that point where you feel that burnout, that overwhelm, that resentment, that anger, that you need to stand up for yourself and say no. When we give proactive no's, we never actually get to that point. Reactive no's come from not saying no and not having healthy boundaries ahead of time that we would have in a proactive life. Being in the space of this reactive knowing comes from not taking proactive action. This reactive no is you're saying no because of something that is not necessarily a genuine no for you. You're saying it at this point because you're overwhelmed, you're frustrated, and maybe you're angry, maybe you feel resentful. And so you're saying no from a reaction to that feeling. And you'll say it to literally anything at that point in time, even to things that would actually be a genuine yes for you if you were in a space of sovereignty, agency, and proactivity in your life. So let's talk about that first. What is the difference between a reactive and a proactive life? So a reactive life, let's talk about a proactive life first. So when we give no's from a proactive life, we're giving it from a life where we have removed false desire. We know what our truest desires are in life. If you don't know what I'm talking about here, go back and listen to last week's episode because I talk about true desire and what that means and how we discover our true desires. So when we're in that life where we know ourselves, we know our truest desires. And because we know our truest desires, we know, okay, this is the amount of time I have per week. This is how I'm going to prioritize my time according to what is important and a priority for me, not what is urgent because I haven't managed my life. So I'm running around from urgent crisis to urgent crisis to urgent crisis, trying to put out fires in my life because I'm not proactively stepping into the life that I want and I'm designed for. Instead, I'm just constantly reacting to excuse my French, the shitstorm going on in my life because I'm not managing it from a proactive space. So a proactive life is one where we've prioritized our time. We know what is most important to us, and we're doing what is most important to us. And what isn't important goes down on the priority list, and whatever is left off of that list is a no for us. I'm sorry, my time is taken up by these things that are important. I've got my priority list. This doesn't fall on that. This is a no for me. This is a no for me. Maybe in another chapter of my life where I have more time, this will be a yes. Right now, this is a no. This is how we make genuine no's in our life. But the problem is that I'm seeing is that some of the people that are starting to adopt this idea of saying no, it's coming from this reactive life, this life of letting important things sit and fester and waiting and procrastinating until they become urgent, until they become a crisis in our life, and then we react to them until we've got so many things in our life that are priorities for us that have become urgent crises that all we're doing in life is just reacting to crisis. We're not in a space where we feel emotionally responsible. We don't understand our emotions. We're resisting our emotions, and so we're emotionally reactive. We're not taking responsibility for where those emotions came from. And we're blaming other people and circumstances for how we feel in life. This is a reactive life. And when we give no's from this space, a lot of times we're saying no to things that would actually be a genuine yes for us. And what I want to offer is that saying no from this space, more often than not, is actually doing the opposite of what we're wanting to create by saying no, by giving genuine and authentic no's. When we give these reactive no's, it's almost like an attack. We're attacking with a no because we're coming from this reactive life. But what I'm saying, when I talk about saying no, the importance of saying no, is that I want you to be saying this from a managed mind, a managed life, in which we have chosen the path of emotional adulthood, emotional responsibility. And we haven't gotten to that space of feeling resentful and overwhelmed or taken advantage of. If you're in a space where you feel this overwhelm or this being taken advantage of, or you feel frustrated and that's why you're saying no, if this is happening, then it's a sign that you've allowed yourself to become reactive in your life and emotionally irresponsible. It is a sign that you're rejecting yourself and your true desires somewhere in your life. It's a sign that you've handed over your power to other people or circumstances in your life. And it's a sign that you have allowed false desires in to lay over top of your true desires in life, and so you're chasing false desires. This is a reactive life. And from this space, this is reactive knowing. This is giving a no from a reactive space. So reactive knowing is a sign that you need to pause and take stock of your life. Because we want to be giving a proactive no. And like I said, this comes from knowing ahead of time what our truest desires in life are. How to plan how to get there. We've got the plan. You're able to easily identify activities that will bring you closer to living the life of those truest desires. And you're able to identify which activities will not. And that's where we give our authentic and genuine proactive no. We plan it ahead of time. We know ahead of time when someone asks me about this, this is a no, because it's not within this space that's going to bring me closer to my truest desires in life. It's a distraction. So a proactive no is about having an agreement with yourself, an agreement ahead of time on those activities that are a no for you and those which are a yes. And there will be times in which there are these gray areas, and you may need to explore an activity and see, does this actually bring me closer to my truest desires? And maybe you do it and then you realize it doesn't. And then you're like, okay, that is, from now on, that's a genuine no for me. I did it this time. I now know that is a genuine no for me. But it's coming from this proactive space where you're doing it from a space of curiosity to find out, is this something that's going to bring me closer to the life I want to be living? It's not from the space of obligation and resentment and, oh, well, I guess I have to say yes. And so you do it, and it's not this inauthentic yes. It's a yes from, I'm curious, what will come out of me trying this out for the first time? It's completely different than in this reactive life where you're saying yes from an inauthentic space. So proactive no is about sticking with that agreement with yourself, even when other people might not understand. It's about allowing other people to have their emotional reaction to your truth and saying no from that proactive life, and allowing them to have their human experience of misunderstanding you're saying no. It's not about having to explain it to them and them liking it. It's about giving your authentic no and then releasing the responsibility of if they get upset about it, if they don't like it, if they think you're mean, if they think you're, rude, whatever it is. It's about knowing that none of this changes who you are and the reason why this is a no for you. And that you are respecting yourself and even the other person by giving that authentic no, by allowing them their authentic journey into their authentic emotions by you saying no, and you staying in your authentic and unique human experience and spiritual journey by saying no to what is a distraction from what is most important for you. So a proactive no comes from love. It is love for yourself that also loves everyone around you, because it allows you to be fully you, but also allows those around you to be fully them in knowing your truth and having their human experience of it or to it. A proactive no isn't about this, I don't care what people think about me. I'm standing up for myself finally. That's not a proactive no. A proactive no is about, I care about myself and you deeply, whoever it is you're saying no to. Enough that I am going to let my truth be known here, and I'm going to hold space for your human experience of it, no matter what it is. Even if it means you being angry with me, even if it means you feeling disappointed, even if it means you feeling like I'm mean, I will allow you the space to have that emotional experience. I love and respect both of us enough to allow that truth to be open and begin healing our relationship by that truth being known. A proactive no opens up that ability to expand the relationship and heal the relationship. So reactive knowing, or a reactive no, it looks like standing up for yourself. It looks like resistance to what is going on in your life at the moment. It's about shutting down your life because you have to give away too much of your power and you feel like you've been giving away too much power, and now it's time you've got to close your life off and hold on and regain control and regroup and curl in on your power and, no, you can't take this from me. It's like this reaction to feeling unmanaged in your life. Whereas a proactive no is about opening your life to the possibility of how your relationships can evolve with your absolute truth being known and there being more vulnerability. A proactive no expands your life into seeing what is beyond the limits of your relationships now once your full truth is known. How can those in your life be there more for you or maybe even less for you once your truth is known? How can you be there more for others, or how can you stop being there for others in ways that you weren't actually being there in the first place once your genuine truth is known? Versus this whole pretending to be there for each other, all the while these invisible debts are just rising and rising, and resentment is just like seething beneath the surface in all the relationships around you. A reactive no looks like a reaction to fear or anger or frustration or exhaustion or resentment. A proactive no looks like the creation of truth and trust and love. It's not reactive to any emotion. It comes from this well of true giving and abundance. It comes from this acceptance of you're going to have an emotional reaction to this, and whatever it is, that's okay. This is my truth and I want it to be known. It comes from this deep inner knowing that when you speak your truth and let it be known, that solutions and new ways forward will bloom and will allow for expansion in your life and in the lives of those around you. A reactive no looks a lot like an attack sometimes. It's almost like you're doing it to get back at something for getting you, for taking your power away. Or maybe it's done in this attempt to get back at life for being so difficult to you. Or it's done in this attempt to get back at a friend or a loved one who you've been secretly hoping would step up and help you get control of your life again. These are reactive no's. It may be done in an attempt to create a feeling of guilt or shame in another person for not seeing how tired or exhausted you are in life. That's a reactive no. And I want to say something about this here. I get that we're taught to work and wait for permission to rest and take care of ourselves when other people finally recognize our emotional and physical state and how exhausted it is. I get that we're taught to wait for that permission and that external validation when it appears, and that then it's okay for us to take a break and take a rest and take care of ourselves and say no. But here's the problem. When it appears to us that it's never coming, guess what we do? We lash out with this reactive no, to shame those around us for never giving us permission for what was ours to give ourselves permission for. It's not anyone else's job to give us permission to take care of ourselves. And most of the people around us, my friends, they're so worried about the same thing that they don't have time or the bandwidth to notice you burning out yourself, because they're doing it too. You, my friend, are the one who is in charge of setting the boundaries, knowing your genuine yeses and nos. You are the one who is responsible for knowing when your body and spirit need a pause to reflect and rest and regroup. This is no one else's job but yours. And if you wait around for permission to do it, this is where you get to that life where you are offering these reactive no's. It is your privilege and responsibility to know, own, and communicate your truth to those around you. It's no one else's. So this reactive no, done out of an attack to get even with someone or some circumstance in your life because you're not doing your internal work, this is damaging, my friends. It damages our trust in ourselves, to know and take care of ourselves. It disempowers us and rejects our inner selves. It sends this internal message that we're not good enough to know, to understand, and to communicate to the world around us. And it totally disempowers our relationships with other people, and creates so much frustration and dishonesty and distrust in our relationships with other people because they don't know what is going on when we're saying yes and saying yes and saying yes, and then all of a sudden we're attacking them with this and no, and how dare you not understand that I'm tired and frustrated and I've got to tell you no now and stand up for myself. And this is what we're doing in our life. And I get that's a bit of an exaggerated voice there, but this is really internally what we're doing. We're getting to this space of so much resentment and fatigue and tiredness that we're like lashing out with a no. And this is a reactive no. The danger of a reactive no is that we never step into the driver's seat of our own life. We just keep reacting to urgent and chaotic situations in our life that we're not managing. We keep handing the power over to other people and other circumstances. I want you to think about that. If we are doing this reactive no, we are doing it waiting around on other people around us to change and the circumstances to change and to expect less of us so that we can feel better. But this isn't how our power works. We don't change other people's expectations. We choose our own expectations of ourselves, and we live up to those no matter what other people might expect differently from us. This is a proactive life where we can give a proactive no. Where someone else might think, you should be doing this though. Well, no, I shouldn't be, because this is not a genuine yes for me. It is a genuine no for me. And from my proactive life and what is important for me and managing myself and my expectations, this is a no. I get that for you, this might be a yes, and that I should want it, but for me, it's a no. And my expectations say this is perfectly fine. Their expectations are about them, not us. But here's the thing. We have to know the life that we're after. We have to know ourselves and know our truest desires to be able to say this from a genuine space. And if we're not doing that, what we're doing is offering reactive no's that are coming from fear of, no, I'm not going to do that because I'm scared. Not saying no because it's not important to me, because it's going to take up time that I want to be spending on these things over here that are important to me. When we say no from a reactive life, we're doing it from a space of disempowerment and fear and resistance. And this can be so hard for so many of us to see, because as I talked about, before in the episodes about emotional pain and understanding our emotional pain and accepting it and moving into it, we are all being taught to live these lives of constant distraction and numbing and false desire to get out of emotional discomfort. So being able to know what we expect of ourselves in our truest desires feels so unclear for us. So the moment that anyone else comes along and unloads their expectations, and then we start to perceive it and translate it into what is being expected of us, well, then we easily just bend and shift to accommodate it without knowing if it's truly aligned with what we truly want, because we don't see that, because we're too busy distracting ourselves with false desires and numbing ourselves out with false desires to know our truest desires. I've said this so many times before, and I'll say it again. Going at your life with constantly trying to change what is out there, changing behaviors, changing what you're doing to meet other people's expectations, without doing the work to know yourself fully and to be clear on your life and what is a false desire in your life and what is a true desire in your life, and understanding the inauthentic ones in your life. If you're not taking the time to do this, my friends, then you're in this space of disempowerment and reactivity. You're in this space of saying no because of someone else's expectations of you, not your own. Saying no as a reaction to feeling out of control in your life. And I know that some of you out there think that you're just going to, coast through life on your false desires and on other people's dreams and expectations because you don't have the time, quote unquote, to get to know yourself and to know your true wants and desires and to know how you want to prioritize your time. I know some of you out there think that this is the life you want to have. And what I want to say about this is, first of all, in doing so, you're going to create a ton of suffering for yourself, but also you never escape the true desire. You never escape the true self. It's always going to be there reminding you and waiting for you to stop ignoring it and waiting for you to stop rejecting it and feeling that suffering constantly as you just keep doing so. I know you feel like it feels easier because it's familiar for you, but I promise you it's not easier. It's just as uncomfortable as the life that you're designed to be living that you're afraid to jump into because of the discomfort. You're already in discomfort. I know that some of you think you're just going to hide your purpose from yourself and from the world, and that this would somehow be easier for you. But I want to offer that it is truly, truly not easier for you. If you really take time to take stock of your life, you will see the suffering that you're creating and how it's not actually any easier. Your life is already difficult anyways because of this. In stepping into the life that you're designed for, stepping into the life of your truest desire, you're choosing the discomfort to bring you closest to that truest desire versus feeling like the discomfort is just coming at you and attacking you. So this is the goal. This is what I'm offering here. We want to be able to get to the space in life where we can proactively see what is most important for us, prioritize our time according to that, and then give our no proactively from that space where we can honor ourselves and our truest desires in life without distracting ourselves. That is what I'm here to offer you all. That I'm not trying to say it's easier than the life of distraction, but it is fulfilling. It is fulfilling, and it is not full of suffering. Is there pain? Yes. Pain is not optional. Pain is something you will experience. Suffering is optional. And when you are resisting yourself and resisting that life, resisting your truest desires, you are creating suffering for yourself. I get that sometimes a reactive no can feel more empowered because you feel like you're standing up for yourself finally. But a reactive no is not empowered. When we are empowered, we are taking charge. We are choosing ahead of time what we want and going out to create it, and doing so with intention. A reactive no, it's not about that. It's not about creating the life that you want. It's about pushing away from something in your life that you don't want, and that is disempowered. In this position, you are running away from something that you have responsibility in enabling in your own life. And by reacting to it and never taking the time to understand why you are in the position you are right now in life and getting to that space of proactivity, by saying no here, all you're doing is running away to a life where you eventually feel resentful, burnt out, and exhausted and constantly needing to run away from something. Anytime we are running away from something in our life, we are not empowered, my friends. We are reactive. We are coming from fear and scarcity, and we always circle right back to where we are right now because we're not going towards anything. We're running away from something that we have power over, and we're not taking our power back over it. We are running away from something that we enabled in our life, that we had dominion over, and we gave the power to it. And we're not taking the time to understand it so that we can, instead of running away from it, we can walk through it with power and come out on the other side into the life that we are here to create. A proactive no is one of empowerment. It is decided ahead of time based on what we want to be creating in life, not what we seek to avoid, not what we seek to run away from because we think it has power over us or our emotional state. A proactive no is about steering an intentional course. Whereas a reactive no is about reacting to a place that we don't want to be and trying to hurry up and get away from there, to get away from emotional discomfort of that place in life. Empowered means that we have authority or a right to do something. It is about claiming our authority to create and do. When we are reactive, I know it feels like we're doing, like we're having authority because we're getting back, we're standing up for ourselves. But what I want to offer is this. Running away is not doing something. It has no intention or direction. It is about resisting something. It is about avoiding something. These are not positive creating verbs. These are verbs of negation. And what I want to offer is that negating is not doing. It is not creating. Negating is an act of resistance and suffering. So I get that it feels like you're doing something while you just sit there in your life and wait for life to happen around you, while you assess whether or not it's good, and then choose whether or not to try and resist it, or to just stay comfortable in what is, without trying anything new or uncertain, and just let life tell you who you will be. Here's the thing. In an empowered life, life is still life. It does what it will, but we show up with full acceptance of that, and we have authority, and we co-create with it in accordance to our truest desires. We pick the discomfort according to what's going to pull us closer to our truest desires versus just waiting around to see what's going to make me feel uncomfortable. Instead of recognizing actually we're the ones making ourselves feel uncomfortable because of our thoughts about the life that we're not taking charge over, that we're not taking our dominion in. So the big difference here with reactive and proactive no is intention. It is authority. It is abundance, and it is empowerment. A proactive no is one of truth and love. A reactive no is one of scarcity and resistance. It's about shrinking or hiding in life from what it is that we're trying to get away from. And sure, sometimes reactive no's we might think that they feel good because we're retreating to a comfort zone. And to the brain, this means security and safety. So it can, quote unquote, feel comfortable to us when we do that. And we may take that signal as meaning that we're doing something good for us. But the truth is that we've just chosen emotional irresponsibility and reactivity and disempowerment again. We've decided when we do that, we've chosen to hide our truth from the world again. And when we offer these reactive no's from this space, what we're doing is we're curling into ourselves and shrinking our lives in protection until all that's left is what we are resisting and suffering about. Whereas with a proactive no, it's open. It expands our life to more possibility. A proactive no says yes to uncertainty and to vulnerability. We pick the uncertainty that's going to pull us closer to the life of our truest desires. A proactive no actually says yes to expansion and growth. It says yes to moving towards something that we truly desire. Versus a reactive no saying no to get away from something that we've given our power to and haven't chosen to see our responsibility in enabling it in our life. So why am I talking with you all about this today? I want to bring awareness to this trend that I'm seeing. That's why. I want to bring awareness to it before it begins to create the havoc and chaos that I'm seeing it's going to start creating in people's lives. I want to bring awareness to it because I've observed people suffering in their lives thinking that they're being truthful by saying no in this reactive way and then wondering why they're still suffering and struggling in life. I want you all to know that it's not because saying no is the problem. It's because you might be saying no from a reactive life instead of a proactive one. And this brings me to the next reason why I wanted to talk to you all about this today. I want to let you all know that just going out there and saying no to people when you've not managed your emotional life or managed your priorities in life and moved into this proactive life, when you're going out there and just saying no before you've done that, then saying no creates the opposite effect in your life that you're looking for. Saying no from an unmanaged and reactive life will leave you and those around you feeling confused, disempowered, more disconnected, and reactive in our own lives. My friends, this all connects back. I know that many of you have been taught to look for these shortcuts in life and to hurry up and try and quote unquote get there. And I keep telling you that these shortcuts that the world is offering us for comfort, these are merely an illusion. My friends, you cannot bypass the internal work. You can't. You cannot bypass managing your emotional experience of life with responsibility and proactivity. You cannot bypass knowing yourself truly and finding your truest desires and just skip straight to telling people no in your unmanaged life and saying no just because that unmanaged life feels out of control or overwhelming for you. I mean, don't get me wrong, actually, you can bypass all of this, but it's not going to take you anywhere different. When you bypass this, it just brings you right back to where you are. Maybe there's a different color to the suffering, but it's the same suffering. Bypassing this is not going to give you the empowered life that you are looking for, the fulfilling life you are looking for. Stepping out there and just saying no to quote unquote stand up for yourself, this kind of reactive no, is not going to bring truth and love to your relationships. It will just bring in more disconnection and more dishonesty. My point with this podcast episode today is to let you all know that if you are practicing saying no in your life, then I want you to do a deep evaluation of how proactive you are in your life. I want you to look at the times that you're saying no in your life. Are they a reaction to feeling something like resentment or anger or frustration or overwhelm? Then this is a sign that you are living a reactive life and saying no to stand up for yourself from that reactive life in order to try and protect yourself from the things that you have given your power to. It's going to have the opposite effect for you that you're wanting to have. I want you all to be aware of this because I can see the road that this is going down. I can see people starting to believe that the issue is that saying no is a bad thing. And I want to encourage you that if you feel this way, then it's because you're saying no from a reactive life that is being driven by scarcity, fear, resentment, disempowerment. And this is why you feel this way about saying no. The solution is to begin the work of knowing yourself, that work that you keep trying to bypass and find the quick fix and the shortcut around. The solution here is to begin that work of knowing yourself, knowing your truest desires and what is truly important for you, and then begin prioritizing your time based on that in your life. Create the life that you are here to live, and then start saying no from that managed life to the things that are a distraction for you from that life. Saying no to the things that will keep you from getting closer and closer to the fullest expression of you. Things that will be using your creative energy but aren't getting you closer to the life that you're designed to be creating. Reactive and proactive no's are two entirely different ways of saying no, my friends. And it makes all of the difference between whether or not you're expanding your life with no into love and openness and empowerment, or shrinking your life with no into suffering, resentment, anger, frustration, and self-rejection. I want to see more and more of you coming from a managed and proactive life of empowerment and being willing to say no when it is the truth for you from this life of proactivity. And I want to encourage any of you out there who are listening to this episode and something hit for you, something landed for you. You felt that tug to listen. This is speaking to you. If this is something you feel like you might be struggling with, I want to encourage you, reach out and talk to a coach. Working with a coach is going to be a massively powerful tool for you here. Trying this on your own is something that I see so many people do. They're scared to invest in themselves because, again, they haven't taken the time to know themselves and know their priorities, so they're scared to invest in themselves, and they convince themselves that doing this alone is better, only to get hung up on their own limiting beliefs, their old subconscious beliefs, and end up right back where they are right now, thinking, oh, this just doesn't work for me. This journey can be full of very tricky obstacles to navigate, my friends. Obstacles that will be so difficult for you to keep yourself accountable during, and to even understand what the obstacle is. What is it that you're facing? Sometimes you don't even see that you're in an obstacle. And a coach is there to help you with all of this, to see the obstacles, to know what it's there for, to show you, to keep you accountable to moving forward through them instead of trying to shortcut around them or go back. So I want to encourage you, reach out and talk to a coach. Even if it's just to let them know that you're struggling with this and see if, there's something that they can offer you to get started on. Even if you don't choose to work with them, just reach out and talk to someone, talk to a coach, and let them know this is something I'm struggling with, something that I want to change in my life. I'm here. I work with people on this all of the time. All of my contact information is in the show notes at the bottom of this podcast episode or at the end of the podcast episode. Feel free to reach out. I would love to work with literally any of you, helping you be in that space of a proactive life where you can offer genuine, life-expanding, loving, and truthful no's in your life. I want you to be in that life of fulfillment and empowerment, where you are not just getting by, not just doing okay, but thriving in your life proactively, not reactively. You can't thrive reactively. You can survive reactively. I'm not here to help people survive. I'm here to help people thrive in a proactive way. So like I said, you can find all of my contact information in the show notes below, or you can reach out to another coach. I would love to work with you, but if you don't want to reach out to me, I offer a free discovery call to find out how my coaching could benefit you if you wanted to talk. That's completely free, obligation free. If you're wondering about whether or not my coaching would work for you, reach out, schedule your free discovery call. If you don't want to reach out to me, reach out to a coach, my friends. Reach out to someone to help you through this and keep you accountable to seeing your obstacles and moving through them. This is not something to just shrug off, my friends. This is not something small and insignificant in your life. This is the most important thing in your life until you have done this. It is the only thing that is important to do in your life until you have done this. All right? So, proactive versus reactive no's, my friends. That's what the topic was for today. That's all I have for you all today. I hope this was insightful for you. I hope this brought some awareness, some understanding. Those of you out there who have been trying to practice saying no, maybe you're feeling frustrated with it, or like you're not getting anywhere with it, or you still, feel guilty about saying no, or like it's not working, or whatever it is. I want you to take a genuine look at whether or not it's because you're in a reactive life and you're saying no from that space. So that's all I have for you all today. I want you all to get out there for the rest of this week. Know yourself. Find your true desires. Using what we talked about last week. Find your truest desires. Find your priorities. What is most important for you? Manage your time. Manage that life. Manage your mind. Manage your emotional experience. Empower yourself in your emotional experience. And then be willing to give your genuine and authentic no's where it's needed in order to be able to expand into that life that you're designed for. All right, my friends, I wish you all the most empowered start to your journey here into the end of this week and until we meet again here next week. All right? I love you all. Ciao. Hey, thank you for listening in this week. I hope you enjoyed the content of this episode. If you did, please subscribe or follow this podcast to receive the newest episodes every week as I bring them to you here on the Connect Your Health to Life coaching channel. Ratings, reviews, and comments are always appreciated. These allow me to know more of what my listeners would like in the podcast and allow for more people who may be searching for a podcast just like this one to find the Connect Your Health to Life coaching channel. If you would like more information about me and the work that I do with my clients one-on-one, then please visit my website at www.slch.ch. Again, that is www.slch.ch. You can also find me on social media on Instagram at SethLusk_coaching. Again, that is SethLusk_coaching. And on Facebook in my free Facebook group community called A Healthy Life Connection. We would love to have you in the group, and it's only 3 membership questions that you have to answer to join. And again, it's entirely free. And if you need any further information or just want to say hello, feel free to send me an email directly at slusk.health@slch.ch. Again, that is slusk.health@slch.ch. Thank you again so much for listening, and I look forward to our next time together. Ciao.